Hello everyone. Today I have another new guest. She is Paula. She is a serial entrepreneur and she is very influential in many industry as well as she is a TED speaker and she do lot of startup tech oriented jobs and she is a very good human. This is her ultimately identity. So hello madam, how are you today?
Hi, I feel great. Thank you. How are you?
Yes, I'm fine. Thank you. Ma'am, can you please introduce yourself with our audience?
Sure. My name is Paula Schwarz, and I have a background in finance and political sciences. And so my background is also Greek. My mother is from Greece. My father is from Germany. And my mission with what I do is to connect people from different cultures. So, because my father is an investor and my mother is very much in the cultural field, um, again, here I found possibilities to say I understand a little bit about finance and I understand a little bit about culture, and I want to bring this together to form something completely new. And this completely new thing is something that we call the Cloud Nation. And so when I was a bit younger, I started to build um, technology for refugees because I love Greece very, very much, my home country, from my mother's side. And they were experiencing so many people who were coming there, the people on the islands of Greece. And so I found that very problematic. And I started with a solution that explains in Hindi also, and in Pashto, and in Farsi, but also in Arabic, in Greek, and in German. Actually, no, we did not have German, obviously. But we had platforms to coordinate people who were fleeing from war. So this was a very important moment in my life. And then I used my network to bring more and more entrepreneurs to the field of interest, to the border between Greece and Turkey. And that was a little bit dangerous back then, of course. But I'm so glad that we did it today because now we are forming a completely new ecosystem of support that is also reaching down to Syria.
Right? Because now we are forming a completely new eco. Yes, ma'am. One interesting thing is that, like, you are trying to giving a solution on education arena. Especially, you have contribution even Asia Pacific market. Can you just explain how you work? What's the new norms will be for education industry? Most importantly, now education industry has a lot of challenges. With your solution, how we can overcome from this situation?
So first of all, I'm not God. I don't know everything. Yeah. I I would suggest as a person that it's very important to be self-reliant, to know who you are, and in the Western capitalist society so far, people in universities are being trained to become a role. And this is the beginning of the problem that I see. And this is something I would like to change because the most important question is who are you and what do you want from life? What drives you? And what do you do every day that you love that lifts you higher? And this is something that I was not asked in university or in school. And this is something that I want to change. And so this is why I ask my team. I also see you as part of my team a little bit now, because we've been talking quite a lot, and that's great. So I'm always asking people who work with me to really understand the beginning of their own infinity, is what I call it. It's the point that you reach inside of you that makes you keep on going. And so I look at the world today and I see so many people who think that when they get money and then they buy a Prada bag, for example, they think they are this Prada bag or the amount of money that is on the bag. And then they feel important. And then they go out of this shop and then they see another store with something amazing. And then they want to buy that when they have money. And the point here is that that is external wealth. And internal wealth is the ability to even feel wealth, to feel joy. And so I think that we need to change the educational systems around the world because they are producing roles of people and characters and not happy, whole human beings that understand their own beginning of infinity. And, you know, I heard a word from an entrepreneur who I'm supporting. Yesterday, I heard this word, I think, and the word was actually no. And the context of this word was that no is the new yes, because it's really important to select well for yourself and to be a creator. And I think we can form a system where we can all be creators together, not like the hippies in the 1960s, but with the power of technology, but also with the power of elegant, humane communication across borders. And I know what it means to look at people who are fleeing from war. And I know what it means to look at people who are able to help them and to think, how can I help them? And I know what it means to look at people and to think, wow, you have so much money and you have so many possibilities. And you're not open to giving joy to the world. But actually, it's not the fault of these people who consider themselves to be rich. It's the fault of the system who calls people rich who are internally almost dead. And then they made a lot of money and then they go and buy that Prada bag. And then they think that they are someone. And that's not true. And that's what I want to change. Is that clear?
Yes. One specific thing, I want to introduce about you that your Cloud Nation has diversified people from different country, different cultures, different point of views, and you manage all of your friends very effectively. How you manage these things? Because diversified people has different objective, but you did it very well.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I think you're a phenomenon in your work as well, I have to say. And see, what we just did is that we respect each other. And it's not so complicated to do what I am doing. If you find people who have this respect for themselves, who know what they want, and who are honest and truthful, and, you know, I think we're both on time always. And so the point here is that if you find people who are self-reliant, who have found their own beginning of their infinity that keeps them going, and if you find a lot of them together, then you can form something like a fountain, a human fountain, or a human castle, I guess. Because the people who I work together with, they know that I need them very much. And I think they need me too, but not always. In certain nuances of who they are, they provide something. And, you know, I'm interested in social harmony, so I'm trying to look at people like I look at a piano when I'm playing a song, meaning who would like to do what? And then I ask them if they have time for that, the people. And then I just make sure that I don't ask, a second before that, because that again would harm the respect also that I have for myself, because I would never do that. I know some people who are just, they just walk into bedrooms and are like, hey, can you do this and that? And some people who do that, I do respect very much. And so this is, it's a thin line between making things work and being overly protective or anything. Because I also have to make sure that my people click together. And we do have a lot of traumatized people in the team. I told you that we work with refugees a lot, and you know that, of course, because you are part of it, Sharif. But see, when I look at the piano, I do not only look at the abilities of the people who are involved, I also think of their emotional state. And I think about what they perceive of themselves and how they actually see themselves. For example, if someone says, I'm always on time and I'm good at everything, then I should probably not put that person together with someone who's extremely brainy, I would say, and smart, because that would clash. And people who think they know everything, they have a definite arrogance problem. But that's okay, because you can connect them to people who do not have that. And then you can ask them, as you form the song on the piano, you can ask them to be harmonic with one another. You can say, okay, now we're learning the lesson, nonviolent communication. And then you form a team together. And so I'm just trying to create groups of people who can be fountains, who mostly one side wants to learn something, the other side has something that they want to give to the learner. And so that's how I create synergetic teams. And what we have as another example is landowners, because I'm trying to create zones with the land of people who do not know what to do with their land. And then they want to learn something, and I bring them together with architects who would do that for free, their work. And so then the landowner is respected, and we ask, what do you actually want for your land? What should happen there? And then the person is being listened to, which is something that the United Nations never do. They do not ask anyone what they would like to happen on their lands, which I find a very fatal mistake, because ownership of your life, essentially, also, and of your ground is very, very important. And so then I connect the landowner to an architect, and then I brief them before, which means that, you make sure that both parties know why they are brought together, they know what will happen. And I have to make sure that the level of trauma that both have experienced does not hinder their ability to communicate with one another, especially when I'm not around. Because when I'm around, it's a little bit different. Because I just really like the people who I work together with, and I think that then they just are more silent. But for me, that's elegant communication. And then the results of, the teams that work together are realized essentially on those lands. So now we have something like an energy power plant that we're looking at for the region between Greece and Turkey. We were given the allowance to potentially reconstruct certain regions in Syria. And also, there's the conflict between Greece and Turkey, now due to natural gas close to Thessaloniki, which is an island that I love very much. I helped to build a refugee camp on that island, so I know this island very well. And, funny enough, this refugee camp is called El Vida, it's called Hope. So I'm trying to communicate both with Turkish and Greek authorities who are part of the Cloud Nation to mediate, to help them find a solution for the energy consumption of the Mediterranean region. Mm-hmm. And these kind of scenarios, if I do not bring people together on a very high level, now that the United Nations is not doing exactly well, I think that my mother country would definitely also end up in a little bit of shit. And I don't want that again.
Yes, ma'am. You have a very interesting idea and solutions. Like most important thing is that now academia faces a lot of challenges, and you come up with the academic solutions. And specifically South Asia Pacific, there are a huge amount of populations. It's in Asia Pacific. But my question is that, like, how you handle different culture, language, as well as the academic objective. What's the procedure? What you want to unveil with our audience?
I did not understand the last sentence. I'm sorry.
Like how you want to like unveil, like you just want
Elevate,
to open the procedures, like how you want to handle the Asia Pacific student, young community for the educational and learning with your education and learning procedure.
Right. So we're starting a university called the Pythagoras University, or it's actually the Pythagoras Academy. We're between two names right now. And it was very much inspired by Singapore, this university, because Singapore tried, as far as I understood, we spoke about this, and I don't want to provide wrong information. So anyone who's listening or watching this right now, in case I say something wrong, please do provide the right information to Sharif, and he will pass it on to me if you can. Thank you. So in Singapore, what happened is that Singapore had an economic situation that needed them to create bankers. And so Singapore, as far as I know, became the banking center of Southeast Asia, if not Asia. And this is something that I found very, very inspiring already in 2017. So what I would like to do is to introduce a concept that is called datanomics in Southeast Asia that is taught in the Pythagoras Academy, which is a university. I like the word Pythagoras Academy more. But we would have to think together, because I think maybe we would also try and use a philosopher from the region of Southeast Asia. And Sharif, here I would like your suggestions. And so datanomics is a course that essentially teaches you to find out who you are on multiple levels, because it is about the level of the soul, and then you have the level of the emotions, which is a spectrum of emotions, so it's wide. And then you have the body, which is chemical, essentially, but it interlinks with the emotional state. And then you have the material state outside, which is, for example, if I have a lipstick here. Yeah. If I have a lipstick and I pass this on to you, forgive me for saying this, but I think that the value is higher for me than for you, because I don't think that it's actually lip gloss, so it's not lipstick. And so this is something that is new for every market on the planet, because it describes the change of value from me to you, which is something that we call the relative change of value. And datanomics is something that makes you understand all your perceptions on different levels. And datanomics as a course that is taught in Southeast Asia also teaches you how to store that on something that is called the datanomic grid, which is something like a new form of blockchain that we call the spectrum blockchain, or the multifaceted blockchain, because it's many blockchains on top of one another that speak with one another in order to show this, the full spectrum of your experience. And so that is very important as a base for the change of the value in an ecosystem. I know this is very complex. This is why it's a course. And the first batch will start in September. I'm really looking forward to that. I'm excited and I'm scared. I will be in Singapore also, hopefully in September, if not October, for the launch of the project. And it seems as though 500 startups will also provide this course in their batch, because they are starting a very big program in Southeast Asia. And I love 500 startups. I learned very much there. And they are organizing multiple financial funds that they want to change. Also, unfortunately, due to the level of corruption on the financial markets today, they want to look at a new form of economics. And I am trying to close a deal with them now to be able to put the first graduates of datanomics into 500 startups, so that I can provide a perspective for our students. And the first batch of students that we will take into this course is very small. It will only be 13 people. However, it's very important to start, and small beginnings are better than, a big bang, from a personal point of view. So was that clear? I think another thing that I would like to say is that I work with a lot of people on this who are strategic partners in different parts of the world. And what is very important is to understand that the flow of communication, because you asked about students from different countries or people from different countries interacting with one another. And so, we have 193 countries on the planet, and we have a lot of verbal languages. And we have someone who is called Karl Marx, who is dead. But what Karl Marx said in writings that almost no one reads anymore, is that if I give you if I call you a moron now, and if I say you can't do anything and you're horrible, then I do not just crush your ability to do anything. I do not just crush your self-worth, and maybe I make your body feel bad, and emotionally, then, as I said, you're a wreck. And so on multiple levels, I can harm you. And this is something that Karl Marx already manifested in his writings. So all we are doing is to provide a mathematical and a technical foundation to organize the communication of individuals away from verbal language or money as we know it, into something bigger that is called your personal flow, essentially. And as a research project in the Pythagoras Academy, we are already working on something to manifest this legally in the Cloud Nation. And the way that we want to manifest this flow in the Cloud Nation is through the legal system of the cloud law. And what the cloud law does is to say that already Albert Einstein said that the theory of relativity explains that every person has their relative perception of life, of their flow, essentially. And so this is very important for inspiration, to inspire one another in teams. Also, not to be too rude, obviously. And so the cloud law shows that it's very important to value individuality And the datanomic grid is meant to technically show the individuality, also for legal purposes, but also for financial purposes, to organize the evolution of humanity everywhere. That's it.
Yes, there are some good audience response. Ankit, I think he's from India. He said, interesting conversations. Another, our teammate, Mr. Sohel Rana, he said, what are the conditions for digital transformation in the education system?
The conditions for, can you repeat that?
What are the conditions for digital transformation in the education system? Like what type of conditions you have to follow for the digital educations? I think he's trying to say something like that from our audience.
So the conditions are openness to lifelong learning. If because the application process will not only check what you know in terms of maths or in terms of your technical skills, because I do work with developers, but most of my developers today want to become gentlemen because they see that the gentlemen around the world have gone missing and everyone wants to be rich with a lot of technology for no reason. And so, see, we take, or also I take that as the basis to find good humans. And the first batch of the 13 people who we will take in will be asked, how do you communicate on a daily level? There will be also tasks where you will have to show up online, or you will have to answer things truthfully and show a level of empathy. And then I hope that we will be able to understand if people are respectful or not with one another. And so there will be interviews in the beginning of the application process in order to understand if you can work together with people who are supposed to be other leaders in datanomics, the first 13 leaders in datanomics. This is who we're looking for now. And that's why it's not just about technical skills. The university, the Pythagoras Academy, is very well funded. So the financial status of a person is completely irrelevant. And it is an online and an offline program. And I hope that that was sort of clear. Language is definitely important. English is essential. And from a point of view of the ability to engage in this course, currently I'm still looking into the legal requirements that must be finalized in order to also take in people who are under the age of 18, who have finished school, sorry. And I would actually like to see, because I'm trying to make this something completely new, so I would also like to take in potentially students who are still in school who say, I'm so bored, I have time for this. Because normally these kinds of people are extremely smart and they need some kind of ecosystem to do something new, and they can cross-pollinate into their school. For me, that's very, very important. However, I am also looking at the legal requirements in order to be able to function well in a region as the Pythagoras Academy, and this I cannot confirm right now. Like, I would like to take in people who are still in school, because I do not believe in the age gaps that we have in our time today. So young people are just as welcome. I just have to check also from the parental respect point of view. I don't know what the parents would say.
Yes. No, this is very interesting solution you are developing. Beside that, you have different interesting projects and different interesting solutions. Can you please introduce other solutions you have right now, or your team working right now? Can you share with us?
Sure. So I have a marvelous team that is, as I told you, working on those power plants right now. And we are looking into building vehicles. This is something I cannot share information about, but it's for me, it's a personal fountain of joy every day. Yeah. And the vehicle is called the Mask, to annoy Elon Musk a little bit.
Okay.
But, yeah, I'm also selling face masks to governments around the world because I have a team for that. It was a very big accident, very positive accident, that some people approached me and said, come on, we need some structure. We really want to do this. You have all this network inside of the United Nations, and you have contacts to states. Let's do this. Let's supply people with face masks. And so we did that. And in the beginning, everyone said, you're insane. This is never going to work. And it worked. It worked much, much better than even I had expected, which is great. So I'm selling those face masks. I'm building a device now together also with X Prize. I'm on the board of X Prize, which is the humanitarian prizes of SpaceX and other aerospace companies, I guess. And it's really about finding solutions to problems on Earth and not just, pissing off to space. Sorry. I'm always trying to verbalize things in a funny way, as I just did, because this is my way also to break the academia. I do not like the tone of professors who find themselves very, very important. So forgive me for saying such words, but I do think it's important to articulate things differently as we move into a new generation of education. And so another project that we have is called Coinflix, and Coinflix is inspired by Netflix. And so Coinflix has our currency behind it, the drop, because the Cloud Nation that I just mentioned has its own currency, it's the drop. And so essentially, Coinflix is not live yet because we're building a board of directors together with Paramount Pictures and together with Universal, partners who I'm very, very grateful for. Some other prominent people are on the board, but I cannot share who they are right now. And so the thing is that on Coinflix, what happens is that people get to watch educational videos that are centered around the notion of edutainment. So it's education through entertainment. And what this means is that essentially it's videos that are meant to be like porn for education. Like you really want to watch this, right? And I've never seen anything like that on the planet. Netflix doesn't do that. I think Netflix's quality also in terms of their storylines has gone down massively. And I'm very proud of the team behind this project because they were super fast. And yeah, essentially what they did is that they changed my business model of Coinflix around completely. And they copied the business model of YouPorn. So because you can watch educational videos for free, and then you can watch educational videos where you also have to pay. And then you can buy the all educational pass, so you can watch every educational video. This was not my idea, but it was hilarious to have my developers on the phone when they said like, "Hey, Paula, this is not going to work," but we came up with something better. And so essentially, we transformed that business model into education, and we have now shot the first videos. For me, the production process was hilarious. It was really great. And the first thing that we're doing is to show people how to effectively brush your teeth, also with these kinds of things, because many people don't even know how to do that right. And so it's so easy to do that. And the thing is that people on Coinflix who watch these videos, they also get drops, so they get money that they can then use in order to get into the zones that I just described that are being organized by the architects together with the landowners. And this is how we're providing money for education. So essentially, if you're really, really, I don't know, if you don't have time and you want to watch everything now, which from my point of view, okay, you can do that. You can also start with the free educational videos, and then you can make money, and then you can buy the other passes, or you can use your money in a different way. I hope this was clear.
Yeah, yeah, very interesting, ma'am. I know personally that you have very bright careers. You work for UN, and you have serial of startups. You are serial entrepreneurs. Can you share like some experience from your UN background, as well as your work, how you work with these refugees, and your activities in Europe?
Yeah. So I I have a very long relationship with the United Nations. I started to attend simulations of the UN when I was still in high school. And later in university, I was leading the simulation team of the Free University in Berlin here. And so I flew to New York when I was 20 years old to co-organize the Model United Nations there. And I still have a lot of friends from that time. I'm very grateful for them. Later on in my life, when I started to work with refugees, it got a little bit more complicated. The relationship that I have with the United Nations, simply because this topic of ownership is very important for me, which means that if you help people, you need to give them a little bit of respect and character of who they are. And my criticism towards the UN, even though I still work with them, and I will explain how, my criticism is just that they put people into, blue UN things and then make photos of that. And then it says UN everywhere. And this is how you can go and get more money. And you could also help these people become amazing. And then they give you money back. That's a much, much, much better equation for me. And this is something that we're changing too. That's why I'm still speaking with the United Nations. So with the refugee work that I just mentioned, of course, it was always a topic to look at different UN institutions and to partner up with them. I told you I'm still very involved with those partners. So the International Organization for Migration asked me to build a public-private partnership platform for their funding purposes. The UNHCR is the refugee agency of the United Nations, and the UNHCR, I was very, very close friends with the head of this institution. And of course, because I deal a lot with refugee camps, they are a central partner of mine. I have also built mobile clinics as another project. And so only to get the allowance of the United Nations, this is something that I have partnerships for with the UN. And then you have to understand the UN has head offices in different institutions, and then they have field offices. And I work both ways. Not to break the UN, but to help the people who they are trying to help too. And so what happened when we were building the Cloud Nation is that my former boss came to me and said, please help me organize 25 cities in something that is called 25+5, which is a program inside of the United Nations that is focused on organizing cities and not nations for the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. So these are goals that are supposed to improve the state of the world. And I was organizing the data for these 25 cities. The Vatican is a hub for these cities, which is why I still have very close relations with the Vatican. And I have to say from a personal point of view that the data that the United Nations uses sometimes is incorrect, which is also sometimes understandable, because if so many people come on boats, you don't know between Greece and Turkey what number to write down, but it's not correct to write down a wrong number. Especially if you are looking for more money from people, and if you're trying to make things seem differently, this I do not find okay. And this is something that I have verbalized very clearly to many people. And still, I think it's not right to turn your back on things if you want to transform them. And this is why I have kept the relationship with the United Nations. And I know that it's nobody's fault that things are breaking down or rising right now. It's just something that is happening. And there are a lot of great people inside of the UN, also in the field offices, that are not really being listened to from the head offices. And so these people are, again, very interested in datanomics because they're trying to organize themselves. They're trying to stay, and on point on their beginning of infinity. They're trying to get there again. And sometimes when you see a lot of trauma, you can't do that because you just lost it. And that's where datanomics comes in to stabilize the situation, to re-inspire people again, to think, okay, remember why you started. No matter who called you what, you're great. And remember that. And that's what we do. And this is something that I'm happy to share with the United Nations. I was also part of the World Economic Forum for quite some time. And I was running the refugee task force there. There is a refugee camp in Davos, that I ran a session in for 2 years. And I have to say that the residents of this camp were not allowed to have internet, with the official explanation that they could potentially watch porn, which I find disgusting as a explanation of why people should not have internet. And of course, the reason why they should not have internet is because people were scared that they would hack into the World Economic Forum, which is also happening in Davos. So I dropped out of the World Economic Forum at a certain point in my life because I found it very expensive and not open for people who are really longing to change the world, who are different with their ideas and with their motivation. Because in the World Economic Forum, from what I know of it, it is very important to look like someone, or to have the right business card, or to know how to speak about certain circles of interest. And I come from a family where, as a woman entrepreneur, I was not appreciated. And I do not like it when people look at me and think they know everything about me from the outside, which is another reason why I am doing what I'm doing. With the Cloud Nation, with the Cloud Law, with Datanomics, this was built on a personal longing to be understood as the creator that I am. And Davos is something that I do not appreciate too much, although I still, I do not turn my back on them either. I actually went last year and I did a project that was phenomenal. But that's exactly what I think we should do. We should go into systems with a new notion of who we are and what we want. And I have friends in the World Bank. I've been friends with them for quite some time. I told you about the X Prize, and essentially that's it. Other than that, I'm a very grateful woman, and I have a lot of friends in this thing called the World Datanomic Forum, which is a group of people who I selected around the world in 12 sectors to support me with with manifesting this idea of datanomics in our world. So I have great friends, and they were also in the World Economic Forum with me. So we tried to make a whirlwind in there, and I think it worked a little bit.
Yes. But there is an audience response from Araf Mehraz. He said, I think you are doing very well. You are working in many sectors. Do you have any desire to work with the South Asian market, like South Asian education system?
Do I have any what? I'm sorry, I did not hear this.
Like, do you have any desire or you have any plan?
Desire, yes, of course.
Yes.
So I work very closely with the German government, and there is a working group there called Asia Pacific. It is actually only called Asia Pacific, I think. I would have to check on that. But it's beheaded of the Berlin Senate. And so they sent me to Indonesia, to Philippines, and to India, because I spent some time in India. Mera naam Paula hai. I also speak a little bit.
Yeah, very good. Yes.
Thanks. So I love the region. I know the region quite well. And I told you that I'm extremely inspired by Singapore. And my desire to work there is, I want to work everywhere. I love the world. And I'm not allowed to, say too much about Southeast Asia now because we're growing in different places. But I have many, many friends in the Philippines, and I would like to give you guys ownership of what we do there. This is not my baby. This would be Sharif. This would be your baby. We've talked about this. I'm happy to come and also teach, and I can speak there. But if we should pick a different name for the Pythagoras Academy in Southeast Asia, please do tell me. Please write down the name of the person who asked this question, and then I can ask the person. Is it a woman or a man? I did not hear that.
Man, he's working with me, working with my
team. Perfect.
So World Talent Economy Forum definitely support your like any of your business, any of your activities. You need our support. We will as a team, we will support you.
I think that also the situation in relation to China is rather worrying right now, and it's not very diplomatic and it's not friendly. And so this is another more serious reason why, for me, it's important to also engage in conversations that have to do with the stability of the region. Because you know me a bit by now. I've been trained in the refugee crisis. So I like really tough situations. I cannot do the fountain thing and the happy joy thing all the time because I'm just not built that way. I like rough stuff. And that's why the situation with China is very interesting. I also think that they produce way, 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 way too much garbage. And someone needs to tell them that. And I'm happy to tell them that. I do not have a problem with that at all. And then, of course, also in terms of energy supplies in the region, I told you that I'm looking at power plants very much at the moment. And so in Southeast Asia, there's a lot of potential to use things like the sun. I would like to look at the water supply also in terms of drinking water. I think that the nutrition that I saw in India, excuse me, but sometimes is awful. And I think we can change all that. Not saying that here it's not awful sometimes either, but you know, when I was 19, I used to teach in India English, and I used to teach girls that were rubbing sugar like that, and then they would put it on the roof of their houses, and then they would eat it. And this is something I do not like. And so I know where they live. I might go back someday, and then we can start the course there. So, you know, I love the region because it was extremely important for me as a person when I was 19 years old, actually. And then after that, actually, when I was in India, I was wondering, because I was working in Karnataka, which is the only communist state of India, I think. I mean, I'm not sure by now, but essentially when I left there, I was still wondering why there were so few men where I was working, because I was working in a slum for around half a year. And I did that because I understood that I wanted to do physical work. And I just, I don't know, something drove me. And the problem was that there were no men anywhere. It was mainly women who were sitting in the slums. And so that's why I was teaching girls. And what I'm trying to say is that I have a problem with the fact that so many men are missing in certain regions in Asia because they are being brought to Afghanistan as plumbers or as drivers, or they're being brought to the Arab region to work on construction sites. And then the few men that I saw there, at least in the region around Margao, where I was working, the men, most of them were alcoholics, and some men drank themselves to death. And then I had one student who was constantly shouting at her almost dead father on the street, and I was thinking, like, wow, look at that girl, you know. I mean, I can shout now, but I can still not shout like her. And she was like that. And so I love these people there. I haven't seen them in forever, but I have to say that I did go back when I was 24. I'm 30 years old now. And I went back when I was 24 because my former boss got married in Rajasthan, though, not in Karnataka. And I think that was one of the most hilarious situations of my life, because I was literally, they placed me on the roof to sleep. Because they wanted all the guests to also see a Western woman. And they all thought I was some kind of phenomenon. So they would wake me up with like cow, like to see, you know, the woman waking up. And that's why I have a lot of people in regions where people normally don't go. I love Nepal. I was around there a lot, and we need to build a center everywhere. So, but I think we will start with Malaysia. Should we do that, Sharif?
Yes, definitely. I'm gonna invite you in Malaysia. So Malaysia, just beside of Singapore. So Malaysia is I think definitely you're gonna enjoy Malaysia. Actually, you're doing a lot of visionary work, lot of interesting work. Philosophically, how do you become so positive, and how you get your too much of energy for doing different visionary jobs, and you are trying to move around the world?
Well, it's really funny because a lot of people think I take drugs, like many drugs, because they say, like, look, you're always awake at night, which is not true, and you're always inspired. And this is coming from people who do not understand inspiration. They do not understand what it means to sit on the beginning of your infinity and to keep going. And I told you that from the side of my private life, I did not feel accepted for being the creative woman that I am. And so there was a personal longing for a different life linked to my refugee work. And so every person who I met there was definitely not great. Some people were also, because I also had to then fight for my rights as a woman in this family. And so some people used that to try and crush my inspiration, because when a very powerful creator falls, it's kind of like everyone's trying to get something for their marketing purposes. So there was a time when suddenly I had people flying to Geneva saying that they're me or that they're running my project, and it was not true. Which is okay today because they're busted. And I love that, as you can imagine. But so this is where it came from, that I have a drive, and I just have moments in my memory where we had on the island that I call my home, which is Samos, we had 14 boats an hour arriving, and the UN was nowhere. There was nothing. And everything was filled with orange life vests. And you know, and we were dragging the boats out of the water, and everyone was looking at me because I was coordinating everything. And so there was one moment, for example, where they pulled out this guy out of the water, and he was, I think he died. He was very cold, and they wrapped him in tape to make him warm again. And so my team was going to have dinner or lunch right next to that. And so I had to ask everyone to, you know, stay calm and go somewhere else to eat. And these kinds of moments, they did something to me, definitely. And you know, and then we took videos of everything back then. And I was thinking, no one is going to look at that. Who cares? And, you know, those small moments where you take the very important photograph. I'm not a photographer of any kind. I take really shit photos. But I guess I take photos of things that are important to people. Like the refugee crisis on Samos. We took a lot of photos there, and we made videos about the technology, and I did not believe back then that no one was doing anything, especially because I know so many freaking wealthy people. And, you know, then the years after that, I saw how people in that region were building massive museums and opera houses. And at the same time, we had streets in the same city where people would not go anymore because there were so many refugees, and everyone felt scared. And so this is also part of the reason why I'm so obsessed with my work, because I cannot say I'm able to change this. And I was partly shunned out of my family because of the abilities that I have, because I was supposed to be grateful for what my ancestors are doing, for what my father was doing. And I just wanted to be grateful for my gift called life. And I kept on doing things where everyone said, no, it's too much, it's too good, you know, and like, and I was like, no, yourself. And that's actually what happened. So, so that's why I don't like it when there is such a social segregation happening, I don't like it that we can change the educational system and no one is doing it. I had to fight for my own freedom as a human being in that family very hard, and I did not spend all this time fighting to stop now. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Very interesting, very interesting. Actually, from your objective, from your hard works, our audience actually learning very good things. My
Okay.
last questions to you. My last questions to you, like, like, what do you think? What will happen in this pandemic situation next 2 3 years, and what will be the impact of globalizations? What your
Mm,
perceptions about globalization?
um, so I, for me, globalization is a gone word. It's like, it's kind of like, my name is Paula, yeah, but I'm different every day. So what does my name say about me? And yes, globe, we have a globe. Yes, the globe is always different every day. The weather changes. The weather will never be the same everywhere on Earth unless we are so freaking stupid to make this that way. So globalization for me is a experiment that did not work to make everything the same. And so I think that we need to break out of globalization just like a flower is breaking out of the concrete. That's what we need to do. Because again, we need to find the beginning of the infinity of everything on Earth. And, Mother Nature loves us all. That's why we're here and we're able to breathe and your heart beats for free. And so, self-love is really important, respect towards other people is really important, and no one is the same. And so that's why I don't like globalization. And in Buddhism, they even say that no man steps into the river twice, not because the river keeps on flowing, but also because the blood inside of a man is always changing, or inside of a woman. So, do you understand what I mean? It's globalization for me is not something that works. And so I would like to call it the evolution of systems. So that's loud. That's fine. Nothing happened.
Yes.
Nice job.
Yes, thank you, ma'am, for your very interesting sessions. I think many of
Always
our
too much. I'm sorry. I think a lot. I'm a thinker. And I always take questions written if someone wants to know more.
Okay. Thank you for your very good initiative. Thank you for your times, and most importantly, World Talent Economy Forum definitely with you. Any of your good initiative, you need our and my team contribution. We gonna work with you and with your team, and I know you have a very good heart. This is very important for World
So
Talent Economy Forum.
And
Yeah.
just to be very clear, the badge will start in Singapore, and with Malaysia, we will see with the World Talent Economic Forum. So
Okay.
these are two different shoes. I have a couple of shoes. Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am, for your very interesting sessions. And definitely in the futures, we will invite you more with our panel discussion.
And Eid Mubarak, no? It's
Yes, Eid
yeah.
Mubarak. Yes,
How do
yes.
you pronounce it?
Eid Mubarak.
Eid
In
Mubarak.
Malaysia, they said Salamat Hari Raya, Hazi Raya,
Okay,
Hazi
I can
Raya.
pronounce it. I will not try.
Okay.
I will look like.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you
For.
too. Take care.
Okay.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye. Bye bye.